Calvin, I just watched Firmware and that is a beautiful piece.
I think as you perform it, you'll get used to it, right? You'll kind of translate your performance to the character, right? It's unique because you're not really playing yourself.
Yeah.
Like you truly
Yeah.
are playing a different character. My name's Calvin Romeyn, and I'm a visual effects artist and an independent filmmaker, and I directed the film Firmware.
So the story of Firmware is about Zariah. Zariah is a scavenger in this post-apocalyptic world where the remainder of humanity is kept in very enclosed cities built decades prior that are run by an authoritarian regime that is the only government left in the world.
The world, the way that nature takes back what man created, has always fascinated me. And I think it's so interesting to see the story that can be told in just world building and just visuals. A lot of it came from just like little stories that we had like made up over the years and little ideas we had.
If you were operating a robot, it would need to be like, oh, go into the perfect stance for firing a gun, so step forward.
This is the norm for these people. Like they expect you to knock on their door at any time. There's no rules in place that stop you from doing whatever you need to do to accomplish your job. Like just like interrogating a civilian, like
asking them where their friends are hiding.
I was thinking you can drag me and I'll lay on the ground.
My working relationship with Calvin has always been based on achieving very visually ambitious projects that are very VFX heavy. And when Calvin told me that he wanted to do something that was more motion capture focused, I was immediately intrigued, and he gave me a very rough pitch of the setting that he was aiming for.
So the project started with a text chain between my brother and I. I had a loose idea of a post-apocalyptic world, a robot, a girl, and some bad guys, and I didn't really know where the project would go.
When I came on board as a co-writer, I really felt like I was working on a vision of something that was big.
Wow, this is the most.
It is really cool. You should walk me around though.
Yeah, here, let me move you.
I want to see this guy. These would be like the guys out there searching.
Yeah, and I was imagining this is like the elite. This is like the higher, like he's got like armor and stuff.
It's cool.
And then I use these like blue helmets, like similar to like the UN helmets. Like imagine like a corrupt version of the UN peacekeepers.
That is so wild.
The idea is like I've created this virtual environment, and we've got him wearing the suit here. Theoretically, I can put a camera anywhere I want, and once I've captured it, I can go in for close-ups. To capture. I'm Calvin Romeyn. I'm directing a short film called Firmware. Was that stupid?
No.
The first shoot we did was actually outside my backyard, right behind me, and I had my brother in a mocap suit. So Sam's playing all of our generic soldiers and all of our military robots. He's wearing the XN suit. Big shout out to Nick Romick from Retro Pixel Digital, who set me up with these Manus gloves. Show him your gloves. Finger tracking gloves and this motion capture suit. Right over here, we got your router, and we're running this from the computer inside here. And this is our mocap stage, right here in my backyard. And we tried to shoot as much as we could. We shot a lot of the generic citizens that you see in the background of the film and all the soldiers that are kind of going to and fro. And walk. The ground terrain was uneven. The suit wasn't always accurate as it needed to be. We couldn't do things like jumping or climbing or any stunts like that. And I didn't have a crew. I didn't have anyone to help me. It was me and my sister. He's gonna do the robot character now. Watch. Roll. Action. I think like you're moving in order to stabilize like your vision. I knew right away that I needed to have the ability to shoot more than one actor interacting and to have correct eye lines and to have a sense of space. The Vicon system that studios like Beyond Capture use is an array of cameras that triangulate every single tracking mark on the character in 3D space. I remember I sent an email to the Graham at Beyond Capture, who's the owner, and it was completely a long shot, and I had no right in asking, but I couldn't do it in my backyard. It wasn't going to work. I emailed Graham. I sent him a bunch of screenshots of stuff I had worked on. I sent him my demo reel of past projects, and I sent him the script. And I waited, and a couple days went by, and I got an email, and I got an email from Graham. And he read my script, and he was really excited about it. And he said, yeah, let's chat about it. And so Beyond Capture graciously stepped in, and they invited us out there to shoot a teaser trailer so that we could raise some money. They scheduled 3 shoot days for us, which was a Saturday, a Sunday, and then the following Sunday. We had about 300 different shots. The film runs at 24 minutes. And I was nervous. I wasn't sure if we could get everything we needed. It was a lot of pages, it was a lot of action, it was a lot of dialogue, and there were so many characters. There was the main cast, and then there were so many background characters that all needed to be cycled through with multiple takes and separate actions that needed to be captured. The story of Firmware is about Zariah and her friend AL1, a decommissioned military droid that her father created. I really needed to make sure that I had the right fit for AL1 and the right fit for Zariah. I held auditions for all of the parts, and I got a ton of response. I couldn't believe how many people were interested in being part of this project.
Dude, have you heard about this? And I went, yes, I have.
Oh, that's so
but
cool.
Of course I have. Someone mentions mocap, theater, and a robot, and you think I'm not going to submit?
The character of Zariah was very much a template that an actor was supposed to build upon.
I sort of wanted that youthful, spunky kind of energy of a woman who's kind of grown up on the streets and kind of raised herself. I was pretty set on who I was going to be working with. I was pretty set. I had someone in mind, and I had spoken to this person. I was really confident that she was the one for Zariah. But at the last minute, I got an email from someone named Angel.
Yeah, you know what? I'm nervous. Wow.
It's all good.
I don't know why I'm so
nervous. It's all good.
Hey, so my name is Angel Solis, and I am playing Zariah in the short film called Firmware.
Zariah Shiab, Unit 77.
And when Angel came on board, suddenly it was perfect. She is Zariah.
I was struck by how she emoted, the way that her face really showed what her character was thinking. And when I spoke to Angel, it was within the first couple minutes that I knew she was the one.
I remember when I first saw the ad for this project, it was on Facebook, and I was 6 months into my acting program, absolutely new, no experience whatsoever. But you know what, I saw the Facebook ad and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try it. And then we did the audition.
Hi, yeah, my name's Angel.
Angel, okay.
Yeah.
So how are you doing today?
I'm good, I'm very excited.
That's awesome. Okay, so let's start on page 7 here.
Of course I'm angry! All those years, the reactor, you saved my life.
Fantastic. Very nice. That was great.
Yeah. Thank you.
You were like almost crying. That was amazing.
Thank the Lord that Calvin liked my performance.
I was just like hoping for more. I was like, what's going to happen next?
That's good. I'll keep you on your toes.
Yeah,
She is very expressive in her movements, in her voice, in her performance. Zariah is very much her character, and I couldn't think of anybody better suited to take on the role.
I'll be back to save you all. Just stay strong.
And I had a lot of people who wanted to play AL1, and there was only one person who fit the bill perfectly, and that was Reese Presley.
I would state the probability of survival, but my companionship protocols simply suggest that we hope for the best.
This thing really interests me the most out of anything. I'm very selective at this point.
Right.
But like, this is just cool. Like, this is really, like, it's gonna be, and your expertise and what I've seen you do before.
Reese brought this gravitas that I was looking for. He was definitely out of my league. He was far too experienced for my project, and I was so grateful that he decided to agree to come on board as AL1.
My sympathy centers are detecting anger.
He had this energy about him that was sincere and stoic, but also at the same time, he had this heart. This deep heart.
I have fulfilled my primary mandate.
Watching the two of them on set working together, she really had this little sister, big brother kind of vibe that I was looking for. When we showed up at Beyond Capture for the first day of shooting. After waiting for so long and working on the script for so long and doing rehearsals, it was such a breath of fresh air.
There you go. So now we're done, and then we get you into the mocap volume.
I gotta get back over here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna get you to put this on your head, just like we did earlier. A-E-E.
Am I allowed to do this?
I don't know. Try it.
We're here on the first day of shooting for Firmware. We're working on real time. We've got the virtual camera here, and then all of our actors are wearing motion capture suits. Here you can see, hopefully we'll be able to see and visualize what the set actually looks like here, so the actors can interact with the real environment that we'll end up seeing in the film.
Alright, so like, whoever's ready in for marker.
I give you like the Xbox, this is a screwdriver. This is like the pointy part of the screwdriver. This is just a display screen. There's no buttons on it. There's nothing to interact with.
The keyboard's there, pretending like it's a big
Yeah,
event,
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
3A, take one, we're rolling.
Okay, first position.
And action. And cut.
And give me a key pose, drop it down.
I wasn't sure if we'd be able to make it all. But fortunately, Charles Douglas reached out to me. And you might ask yourself, who's Charles Douglas? I asked myself that as well. Who's Charles Douglas? And he said he's a movement director.
So when they're running up here, are they actually running, or do they just kind of enter the scene?
Yeah, they can run. I mean, if we got a sprint across here, we can just loop that here, right?
Yeah. So there's probably a I'm on a voyage version that kind of continues going.
Cruise control?
Yeah, you know what I mean?
And after I met Charles Douglas, my life changed.
I was gonna say, my only thought was, I feel weird about Reese speeding up. So I think he's gonna stay similar. She'll speed up, she'll slow down. They'll see it. They'll meet and keep going. If that makes sense.
Sure.
So Angel, you just have to sort of track that this walk is a little slower than a human walk.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
You'll speed up, you'll slow down. Reese, you'll clock both those things.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
The way that we move and the way that we communicate with our body is so in tune with what we're thinking. And the ideas you can add to your characters just with the little adjustments, just with slight modifications. And we worked with great actors, and I did my best to direct them, but I can say with confidence that this film is better because of Charles.
They all look super efficient in that way.
Yeah.
There's the possibility that Ivan covers and Ivan like pushes him forward.
Oh.
Yeah,
pushes like him I'm a little reluctant.
So you think about it for a moment, you push him on the shoulder.
I was constantly in awe of the actors and the staff at Beyond and how well everyone worked and collaborated together.
It's my first time ever doing motion capture. Like, it's definitely difficult. It's so difficult. It's very nice because everybody here is so accommodating, and all the ideas that are flowing in and out, like the collaboration, it's insane.
I like what you're doing, but I think looking around and trying to be more intentional about where you're looking and what's paint a picture in your head of what's here.
Okay.
Go down, he's here, and so that your hand doesn't get caught up in between.
Okay.
You go first. I'll be right behind you.
You go first. I'll be right behind you.
Calvin and I first worked together on a short film that I wrote and directed called Alone in the Arctic Skies. And working with Calvin, I was immediately struck by how professional he is. This is someone who is extremely experienced working with this cutting-edge technology. And being able to work with him as an up-and-coming director felt like a huge privilege.
What do I think about Calvin? Oh man, inspiring.
I'm amazed by how creative he is, how good of a director he is.
Make sure your elbow is like tucked down. So just like a little bit lower.
Right, okay.
This is actually one of my first experiences on a professional set. So he definitely set the tone for me.
Tripwire is 1, flare, and then the alarm sound, and then you're like desperate, no, it's 4.
You can see how much passion he has for it, and as an actor, it just drives you to just push. He brings out the fun in all of it. I just got back a couple days ago from my home country, Philippines, and I showed my entire family all the BTS of this film, and every time I come home now, they're like, oh my god, look, it's a Canadian actor. They are so beyond excited. Like, they told their neighbors, neighbors, like, just know that the entire island, my island, is so excited to see this film, and it'll be shared across the continent.
The sound of a truck in the concrete tunnel behind you. And when you get to the gate, it's like doing my thing, if that's your...
There was so much communication between me and the actual writers and everyone behind the scene. Just made it a really easy-going process.
The only issue is because they're so close to each other is when she puts the bat down and then like interacts with his elbow and then walks past, their markers get stuck together and the Velcro keeps ripping on the lines. So
just don't get too close to actually.
You don't end up. The only problem is if you get stuck together, you have to inevitably get unstuck from each other, and that will, ruin some lines.
You always wear a charmer, but listen, I need you to do what you were created for. They saw like my unreal, like my face on the actual screen, and what Calvin did. They were like, "That's you, that's you." It's just unreal. It feels like I'm living a dream.
I was actually going to say that because she almost killed me.
I mean, maybe internalize that.
Yeah,
and then
I
let
want
it
to say
come
it
out in a PG way.
Gosh darn it!
Gosh dang it!
Like, great tissue box. Great.
The tissue box.
The tissue box.
What's the point in all of this if you can't help me?
Maybe wait to fire until you say your line, which means that you could maybe say it a little bit sooner.
Faster. Okay.
Like there she is, weapons free.
Yeah,
and then everyone
with more like
urgency.
Yeah, because you kind of say like, oh, there she is. Like I think you should be like, there she is, weapons free, get him.
Engaging. Cover me.
Being prepared is so important. I spent a lot of time planning every single scene. I drew out maps of the area, tracked where each character was going to be, and then I rehearsed all of that with the actors. Doing this saved me so much time on set and allowed me to move really quickly.
What have we here? Packing some heavy firepower for hunting rabbits.
What have we here? Oh, packing some heavy firepower for hunting rabbits.
We ended up finishing our last day of shooting about 3 hours early, and we had been doing a lot of stunts that day, so we had a lot of these mats out. It was really special because instead of everyone kind of just leaving at the end, a lot of the actors all stayed around, and we had some champagne and stuff to celebrate the end of shooting, but they stayed around, and we ended up goofing off and jumping on the mats and shooting a bunch of slow-mo videos of us doing stunts, and how encouraging it was for me and for the other writers to be able to see all these people who had come out and spent their day working with us and then still wanted to hang out and still wanted to be there and wanted to be part of the project. And it really showed me that these people really believed in this project and believed in us.
And you're fully
The data that we got from Beyond was very clean, but the main thing that we really struggled with was the height difference in the different actors and the height difference in the different characters. Now, Reese is about 6 feet, and AL1 is close to 7 feet. We needed to have a way of readjusting the height, and so a lot of times Angel was looking just above Reese's forehead, and Reese kind of had to look down below her chin. The way that AL1 moves and the way that his joints are constricted by not only his anatomy and the skeleton that he has, but also like the years of rust buildup. And so this meant that after we received the data, we needed to retarget it to the new skeleton. I had my friend Will build a tool that would take the motion capture data that we got from Beyond Capture, and it would retarget it onto our character skeletons. For AL1, we had a lot of these droids throughout the zone, making sure citizens were following the rules. It was important that AL1 was distinguishable from the other droids. Okay, so I got some stickers for you and some crayons, and I want you to decorate that for Daddy's robot movie, okay?
Look, I have a circle one and all of the stickers. Oh, you made the eyes a little bit bigger.
I made sure that not only the paint job, And not only some of the wear and tear, but also the silhouette of AL1 was different. The other thing that was tricky was every time a character passed a prop, it needed to be manipulated in some way so that the prop would sit right in the hands. Oftentimes the prop was not the right size or wasn't exactly the right shape, and so we needed to manually adjust that. And I had a couple animators who helped a lot. Fred, Emily, and Austin helped a ton with this project. And just about every shot in Firmware was touched by our animation team. Once we collected all of the assets, like the characters and the props and the environments, and we had the dialogue and we had the motion capture and everything was ready to go, I got it all inside Unreal Engine, and that's when the fun really began. I did the entire edit inside Unreal Engine. I had different environments for each scene, and then I had different sequences for each environment. And I was able to actually edit the entire film within Unreal Engine. The speed at which I was able to render was astounding. I'm used to working in the industry on projects where you need to wait for an entire day for a render, sometimes overnight and sometimes even longer. On a single computer, I was able to render an entire sequence, and I wasn't even counting the shots. I wasn't rendering per shots, I was rendering the entire sequence. The renders out of Unreal do look great, but it definitely takes a lot of artistry to really push the image to the next level. The wonderful people at the Foundry sponsored the project as well, and gave me a Nuke license. I mainly rendered cryptomats out of Unreal Engine, and then within Nuke I used those cryptomats to color correct and hold out specific objects and characters. A lot of the fire effects and the sparks and the smoke and a lot of the atmosphere was all done in Nuke and was composited in 2D after I had the render baked down from Unreal Engine. And in compositing, that's where we add all of the nice little touches like the film grain and the chromatic aberration, the lens dirt, the glow, the extra little camera shakes.
Whoa. Look at this.
All of the environments were created in Unreal Engine using foliage tools, the landscape editor, and marketplace assets. I built a lot of the custom assets in Blender, textured them, and exported them out into Unreal Engine. For some of the environment pieces, I traveled to Riverview Hospital, which is a local hospital which is largely abandoned. There's all these great overgrown little buildings and paths and stuff like this. There's so much intricacy to the way that nature grows around what man's created that it would be almost impossible to try to create it from hand. So I spent a lot of time doing what's called photogrammetry. Now, photogrammetry is where you take many photos of the same object from different angles. And I took my DSLR camera there, I took about 7,000 photos of different areas of Riverview, and I scanned them in a software called Reality Capture, which triangulates every single camera position that you take, and it creates a 3D mesh and a texture for it. I brought these assets into Unreal Engine and I used them to populate some of my scenes. Having real photography from a real abandoned location brought a lot of authenticity to the film. The coolest part of the entire project was by far the virtual camera.
Like, it's like you're shooting a documentary. You have your scene and you have to decide how you're going to shoot it.
Right.
Without control over the blocking, because that's already been decided. Like, what's the dramatic?
The actors aren't aware of you at all.
Yeah, and you could move the camera however you want. Like, what's the most interesting backdrop?
It kind of lets you find the story after you've actually captured the performances already.
Because also the reason why people shoot clean reversals is because of concerns over editing. But in this case, you have full control in the moment. You don't need to worry about that. Like, one benefit of playing it here as opposed to underneath the door is that they're kind of both on the side of freedom. Like, AL1 is so close, but he just can't make it. His only taste of freedom is just poking his head through the door.
My friend Christian lent me his iPad, and I bought a shoulder rig from Amazon. And with these two things, I connected the iPad to the computer over the wireless network router. My computer is streaming my Unreal Engine environment live into the backyard onto the iPad. And what this means is I'm able to walk around my set looking at the iPad, and it's seeing the environment and the characters and all of the objects in the scene. I was able to record as many takes as I need with perfect continuity because the action was already captured. I played them back over and over and over again, did as many takes as I want. I could cover every scene from every angle I needed. The hardest part was trying to restrain myself. I still wanted to put the camera in logical places. I kept my camera setups very simple, and I tried to imagine how would I shoot this on set. It's been really exciting to watch this project that started as just a small idea and just a handful of stories, and watch it grow and mature into this wonderful film that's really brought people together and that's created a community of artists and creators who are passionate about storytelling.
Hello everyone, my name is Jose Pavli and I'm the composer for Firmware, the latest film by Romeyn. This is not the first time I've worked with Calvin. The first time was on Galactic Battles, a sci-fi short film that merges different universes together. For this type of movie, we needed a pretty big score, epic melodies, and huge percussion. Go and watch it if you haven't yet. For Firmware, things are going to be different.
The consumer technology in the film is kind of lagging behind the military tech. And I told Josie to kind of lean into that time period, using only minimal synth.
Now I'm thinking it might be too much for her to have a specific theme.
Right.
So what if her theme and motif is the same as the one from the world?
Yeah, it could definitely be the same note. It could be the same notes for sure.
Yeah, play differently.
Definitely, because I think the world is more about like her struggle against the world.
Okay,
absolutely.
So I think that will work. In my head, it will work. No,
yeah. I really wanted to lean into the kind of the analog 1990s MIDI sound. We have some strings at the end when Zariah is free, but for the most part, it's really dirty synth the whole time. We spent a lot of time developing the sound of AL1, how his joints would sound, and most importantly, how his voice would sound. All of AL1's dialogue comes from a small computer speaker in the middle of his face. It kind of looks like his eye. And I really wanted the sound of this crappy, low-tech speaker. All of his sound is kind of punching out of this small speaker and it can't quite get through. We compressed his voice a lot. We pulled a lot of the pitch out, kind of squashed it down to be a little bit more monotone, and then we applied some really heavy distortion.
But if you just did a quick pass of just normalizing it and seeing what that sounds like.
It has been 4,560.
Because even though it sounds
keeping it all
really weird.
Yeah, but keeping it all pretty close. But if we add all the effects back on that we had, I just don't want the voice to get too lost. This was the main thing I wanted to look at, is like what happens if we add everything else back on? How well can we hear him?
It has been 4,563.2 days since you left.
That sounds super cool though. It's just the humanity. There's just a little bit too much of it that's lost, and then the squeaking. Obviously, the squeaking is a problem.
Yeah.
But then, like,
I think we managed to strike a pretty good balance of being able to hear what AL1 was saying, but still be able to have a really unique robot voice.
It has been 4,563.2 days since you last activated me.
This project has been sort of a 2-year process. And when we started this, we didn't really know where it would go.
And we've created this short film that has really come together, and it's taken us from discussions over the phone to Calvin's backyard to here at Beyond Capture Studios in downtown Vancouver.
It's gonna go out there, so y'all better watch out. You all better watch out, because Calvin is paving the way.
I feel like we are punching far above our weight in terms of the visual quality and the technical prowess of this film. And Calvin already has made some very creative work in the past.
Insane. I've never seen anything like this in my life.
And I don't doubt that Firmware is going to be just as entertaining and just as impactful.
I'm so thankful to everyone who's contributed and supported me along this journey. Thank you for your support, your encouragement, and for being part of Firmware.
Procreation is a civil violation.
No, we'll be taking it from here. No problem, Commander. Just gotta get this gate open. Yeah, excavator's on its way. Should be here any minute. Yeah.
Lawful reproduction